first of all, thank you for being here and for sharing with us some of your great experience towards green building and sustainable architecture. So let's share for our public some of the major information towards this theme. So the first question would be, due to the fact that you are one of the pioneers of the cradle-to-cradle approach in architecture, can you please explain for the large public what is this concept about?
Cradle to Cradle is a scientific vision of circular economy, which looks at never wasting resources anymore and making sure that what we use today, either to build or to rebuild or to transform buildings, can be used as material in the future. Cradle to Cradle specificity is to make sure that there are no toxicity in materials. There are many materials that are toxic in our environment today, and as we spend more than 80% of our time indoor, you have to know that even in a city, the indoor air of buildings is normally 6 or 7 or 8 times more polluted than outside. So the pollution is coming from also what we wear, what we use, printers in an office, fabrics, paints, different materials. Even ventilators in an air conditioning system can sometimes, although it's supposed to clean the air, it actually brings some more toxicity. So we are working in eliminating all bad materials, replacing with materials we can recycle infinitely. We call that upcycling.
What are the main benefits of this approach in architecture?
Well, this approach, compared to just sustainability is a good step, has been a good step forward since certainly 1992 with the Rio conference. Cradle to Cradle and circular economy is bringing a positive impact. It means that it has an economical value, it's creating new economies, new business, it promotes innovation, and it makes sure that people are tempted to do it. It's not just telling people drive less, heat less, or waste less food, or all that, which is always a little bit negative approach, is to find ways that both in the behavior and in the building we build, we have a positive impact. We create value, we create energy, we create food, we clean water, we clean air. All these things are possible. That's why I always compare this theory as if buildings were like trees, cities would be like forests. The idea is that trees are positive, they create habitat, they transform energy, they produce food, they have their own climate system, they create humus, they are the habitat for other species. A building should be treated in the same way, it should have only positive impacts. So that cannot be done at once, and you cannot do everything in each project, but the idea is that each project has some innovation that we can integrate.
What are the latest developments of cradle-to-cradle approach worldwide?
Well, the developments really for the last 10 years, I would say, is that more and more large companies are adopting this principle because it makes money, it improves their value, it improves their image. It managed to keep their staff happy also because they're working in a nice on a nice subject, on something which is positive. It's easier to come back home and to say, oh, today I produced something which is cleaning the air, than saying, oh, today I produced something which is using less energy. It is really this positive attitude which is important, and it means that many products today are available according to Cradle to Cradle. And if we link it to circular economy more generally, more and more people are embarking, and it is now understood it is a priority not to waste resources. And I don't think there is any question about that anymore.
Is this principle applicable in Romania also?
Of course, more in Romania than anywhere else. No, Cradle to Cradle and circular economy are applicable everywhere. We as Lateral Thinking Factory, we work in Europe, we work in China, we work in Ethiopia. You work in different ways. In fact, the more the industry or the construction industry is developed, the more difficult it is to change things because people think they've done it right. When there is a lot of buildings to be refurbished that are not very efficient for the moment, it is the right time to think at the best way to renovate them, to go one step further. A lot of renovation has been done in the 1990, 1980s in Belgium, for instance, or in France, has not been done according to circular economy or cradle to cradle. It means that now people hesitate to re-renovate again because it's a lot of money, and they think they can keep it like that for a long time. If you have buildings here that have not been renovated and has been built a long time ago and sometimes badly built or without insulation and all that, it is easier to do it once and properly than having to redo something that's been done half-hearted.
We know that green architecture and sustainability in all the fields are quite a trend nowadays.
Yes.
Are these concepts used correctly?
Well, there is a lot of greenwashing around. What we're trying to do, and that's why we need an economical model behind. If you have a good economical model that makes sense, people will do it not only to be green, but also because they can keep on going good business. And it's important also for private people when they do something in their home that they know they're doing something right for their children. Now it's the children that are asking their parents to have something healthy. The education is very important there also, to have the young generation asking the parents to change their behavior. It's coming more and more. If you talk about sorting the bins with plastic paper and all that, at home, my daughter, when she was 6-year-old, she would come in the bin and say, "No, Dad, you should not put this here and put it in this one," because she learned it at school very, very early. And I think it's not a trend anymore, it's a necessity, people realize that. And the ones that are doing greenwashing, they don't last long. It really needs to have it's good to have a good story, but behind the story you need to have a proper solutions, and it needs to make sense economically as well.
Another important subject is the role of the architect, which is a very important role towards social responsibility when designing a building or planning the urban space, right? Mm-hmm. What are the main principles or rules, let's say, they have to follow in order to give the best of their work towards the community?
That's a very wide question. Well, first of all, you're right. Architects have a big responsibility because what they do, people are going to live with or in or around. At least they will see it. So there is a responsibility of advising their clients, developers, whether it's public or private, on doing things right. When you cannot go as far as you can as an architect, you always have to show your client how far you can go. The way I do it today is to explain to our client, let's say if it's a city of Paris or if it's a public client, say, okay, you can do that, but you could go much further, and what we're going to design now will allow you to go further, even with that same building. So we call it a roadmap towards the vision we created, and make sure that these decisions we take now as architects is not blocking the future. Sometimes if you design some sort of structure which is so specific that if the business or the occupation that's supposed to happen in that building stops, then you should destroy the building. It's the problem we have now with many hospitals. All over Europe, hospitals are being regrouped together to make bigger hospitals or local hospitals and different things, and the old structure are very difficult to transform because they've been designed really very, very specifically to be a hospital. And today, designing a hospital or refurbishing a hospital should take into account that the medicine is going to change, behavior is going to change, the type of stay or the length of stay in a hospital is going to change. And today, when we design buildings, we really have to think of what is next. It's the most important question, not always to ask. If you do something which could be changed from office to residential, and after residential, what can I do? Either I demolish the building, and I don't demolish it, hopefully I dismantle it to reuse all the materials to gain the value of that and to be able to reuse the material, or you make sure that afterwards it could become a hotel or something else. So very often what I do as architect and advising architects to do is to design, even without the client knowing, a building that could actually be transformed in the future. And then once the design is there and it pleases everybody, you can tell your client, look, and even in 10 years' time, maybe it can change use. And that's really added value. It's added value for the financial world, because they know that the building should not never be derelict. You can really reuse many parts or all of the building, and this is for me the best advice I can give is always think long term for the building.
And what would be your suggestions towards embellishing or improving the image of Bucharest? Maybe also small things that each of us.
No, I think I would take a very big building, very symbolic, maybe the People's Palace, and turn this. I've read that about 70% of that building is unused, of the area. 70% of building unused is dramatic. It costs money, and it could replace many other new buildings. It could also be used to house functions while they are being rebuilt somewhere. For instance, I don't know, if a museum needs to be redesigned somewhere, it can move there and then move out again. Even maybe not for housing, but certainly for startup. I think that building should be transformed from symbol from the past into symbol of the future for young people, knowing that it's a building that's it's quite amazing as a building because it's grand and it's very luxurious and all that. And if it was suddenly a productive building, maybe with urban agriculture, maybe with producing ideas, producing new business, being used by a lot of people to create new economies, whether it's in media or different things, I really think a lot of people would take that symbol as, Romania or Bucharest is changing, and the public sector is adapting to the new economies, simply. So I think I could see a huge greenhouse on top of that building.